Hi, welcome. This is Sarah from Spa and Wellness Mexicaribe. Hola a todos, bienvenidos. Today we have a webinar with Book4Time, and our subject is creating a contactless guest experience. And we have Erica Martin of Book4Time here with us to present. Welcome, Erica.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. So I'll let you get started on the webinar. We are live on Facebook also. So anyone watching, feel free to type any questions and we'll have some time at the end for questions. Over to you, Erica. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So welcome, everyone. Today I'm going to take you through a little bit of the contactless experience. I know it's really big now, especially with COVID more than ever, ensuring as much of a contactless experience as possible. I know it sounds funny, talking about contactless with spa. Of course, you'll still have your hands-on services, but for the rest of the experience, we hope to help you make that as smooth as possible for the guests and for your staff. I'm going to take you first through just a little bit of history about our company and about myself as well. And here we go. So just a little bit about Book4Time. We are the first cloud-based software available to spas. We were founded in 2004. And so actually we're the industry's oldest cloud-based system. Back when we first launched, there was a number of different server-based systems that were available where you had to have a installer come out and install it on the server at your property. And you couldn't access, much remotely. It's hard to dial back into that server. We've always been cloud-based. We continue to build on that initial platform. We first actually started as more of a general booking software and point of sale software for many different types of businesses. In 2008, we started working with Bliss Spas, if you know Bliss, primarily throughout the US, but also international as well. They were our first true spa customer, and so we built a lot of functionalities specific to spa, including multi-location capabilities, very strong enterprise focus. They were actually at the time owned by Louis Vuitton, but pretty soon after got sold to Starwood Hotels and Resorts. And so working with Starwood Hotels really got us into doing a number of different integrations and security, a big focus on security. And from there, we really focused on the spa and wellness space, both multi-location, more enterprise type spas and businesses, and those that are located in hotels and casinos and resorts. Myself, I actually started with Book4Time. It's almost 10 years ago in September of 2010. So I've really grown with the software. I actually started as a support and trainer, moved into more of a leadership training type role, and then switched into more of the account management side of things about 5 years ago, and then eventually breaking off solely into the sales portion and overall enterprise account management as well. We are truly with that a global company. We are in over 85 countries across the globe. We do have 24/7 support, so 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can contact somebody via phone or email. The system's actually, it can be translated in up to 12 different languages as well, including Spanish. I'm sorry I don't speak Spanish. I wish I could be, speaking both languages today. But today will be in English primarily. We do have, over 80 employees, 2 different offices, one in Manila and then one just outside of Toronto here, which is where I'm based. And you can see kind of a map there that has where some of our spas are located, or the different countries at least. We have 3 general streams or products that we support. So Book4Time is the core, which we're going to focus on today. For the check-in and check-out capabilities and getting into more of the contact list. But that also will work with guest intake as well, which is our digital intake form solution, which we'll talk about too. And then we also offer Spa Executive, which is our digital magazine. So we release a new version every month, and that's available free of charge. We typically feature a key spa executive and have a number of different, wellness or industry articles in there. Some of our client logos, we did try and focus more on the Americas in the Caribbean region with these logos here, but we are in all of the different spas that you can see. All the resort properties use us both for spa and activity scheduling, sometimes even for a kids club, recreational activities, boating, archery, that type of thing, transportation. And then a bit of what would set us apart from any, other software that you may be looking at or may have used in the past. We have a number of different integrations, very heavy on the integration focus with different PMS systems, payment systems, inventory management, loyalty points programs. We also have custom APIs available for data and for online booking. The 24/7 support, always having somebody available. I know some software companies say that they're always going to be available, and then I've heard some horror stories here and there of not hearing back for quite some time, but it is live 24/7 support with us. And security, privacy, like I said, focusing on more of the hotel resort-based space. We're very heavy on the security side of things, ensuring, of course, PCI compliance, GDPR as well, and being hosted on Amazon too. I forgot to mention actually before, we are hosted on Amazon, so there are different data centers that are located across the world to help support that. And then in terms of innovation, like I said, we were built in the cloud. We were always continuing to enhance that platform, and we do work solely with spas, salons, fitness, wellness type businesses, and will always remain in that space. Moving on here too, looking at some of those specific features, and then we'll get into more of the contactless side of things. But of course, everyday financial reports, there's over 250 reports that are available. All of those can be exported to PDF or to Excel. Also important to note the remote access that's available. Because we're a web-based system, your staff could log in from home, run the reports even from a tablet, or even from their cell phone if they really wanted to. It really helps, especially now with everybody working from home. Trying to get data from the systems can be quite tricky if it's not available, online for you. Yield management as well in terms of updating pricing based on time of day of the week, really trying to maximize your peak hours and bring in business during those slower times. We also have staff management, so being able to, of course, create work schedules, manage staff time and attendance, commissions, gratuity tracking, all of that will translate to the reports as well. And then, like I said, you can access from anywhere. We do have a mobile tablet app that's available, which will also help from a contactless experience side of things. You can have staff walking around the resort, checking in guests. In addition to a guest self-check-in, you could have, like I said, a staff member walking around, booking in appointments that way, checking in guests, looking up customer profiles, adding notes from the treatment room if you wanted to as well, in addition to viewing forms. And then there's a number of inventory components included with the system as well when it comes to creating purchase orders, receiving them, updating physical counts, and tracking all of that, of course, within audit and reporting as well. Touching on more of the contactless side of things. So of course, there's the booking side, being able to book online, of course. So you can have a link from your website so that your guests could access the online booking, which is fully customizable. We'll match that to your branding to make sure it's a seamless experience for your guests. We also have APIs that are available. So if you wanted to fully integrate the booking flow within your website, then you could do that so that the guest doesn't ever have to actually leave your site. We do have a mobile app available, so it's a mobile version of the online booking. So based on the device that your guest is using, it'll automatically switch to more of an app view so that it's easier to use on a touch screen. And I'm actually going to take you through that just after this. On the marketing side of things, there's a number of different options included within the software. So there's there's membership tracking, being able to track loyalty points, both within our internal system. We have a loyalty point program and we can do integrations we have with different custom loyalty programs, of course, in the past as well. Cross-selling and upselling, we'll be able to track that for all of your staff. Gift card tracking, referrals, online review tracking, all of it can be stored directly in the system, pulled up against customer profiles to see their balances and things. So that there's no, paper required. There's, of course, payment. It's a full point of sale as well, so you'll be able to check in and check out, of course, your appointments. With that, we are fully PCI compliant. We integrate with a number of different credit card gateways and, of course, PMS systems too, so that you could post all the revenue and your room charges directly to the hotel, or to the guest room, I should say. It is customizable in terms of the types of payment that you're taking. We'll go into in a minute talking a little bit more about the guest contactless experience from the guest point of view. Just touching on first some of the health forms. So there is the ability to customize the online health forms within Book4Time. So this is something that's really, really important. We've been having so many requests for online health forms, especially after COVID, and of course before as well. But as you know, traditionally, most spas are having, or just still have a paper-based form where the guest comes in. Once they come in for their spa treatment, they're presented with a piece of paper, essentially, and a pen to fill it out in the waiting room. Not the best experience, from an overall guest experience point of view, especially when coming to the spa and trying to relax, having to fill out, all that paperwork right at the beginning to kind of start their treatment isn't necessarily ideal. And of course, now there's a big concern surrounding keeping that paper, having the pens, having to sanitize them, and all sorts of tricky stuff that kind of comes in there after COVID. So our guest intake online health form solution has been a real lifesaver with that, especially with, when it comes to filling out standard health forms that you'd have for massage, for facials, for aesthetics, whatever, but also for COVID waivers. So a lot of our spas and those using the health forms already have implemented COVID restrictions or some specific questions at the start of their form, to make sure that all of that is covered, in addition to just, having the other questions following surrounding massage or whatever the treatment will be. With this, we would allow you to send out those online forms within your confirmation email. So it can be linked directly to the confirmation so that when the guest appointment is booked, it's sent out directly to the guest. They would have a link in there which would allow them to complete their form. This can be done again via email or text message. The guest would complete their form. They can do it on their phone or on their computer or on a tablet. It's you can use any device. It's responsive. And once they've completed their form, they can actually sign it as well. It's a digital signature. They can essentially sign the screen with their finger or with their mouse, and it would be stored against the form. There is an indicator in the back end of Book4Time within the appointment where you can see that the guest's form has or has not been completed. And you'll also have a separate dashboard view here within the guest intake dashboard where you can actually see all the appointments that are coming up for the day, whether or not they've completed the form, or if they have, you'd be able to fill out the completed form. If they haven't, you'd be able to click a button that says launch so that the form would be launched on that iPad. You can then hand them the iPad to complete the form that way. Okay. Of course, there's a history of these completed forms in the customer's profile as well. And you can set an expiry date so that if it's valid for 6 months or for a year, although with that, a lot of the time now it's changing where staff are wanting the guest to complete a form, or spas are wanting the staff to complete a form every time they come in, especially with all of the new COVID questions, and just increasing that safety and security there. Okay. And lastly, therapist notes can be added too. I just forgot to mention. So once the form is completed, your therapist, you can set up a specific set of questions for the therapist so they can complete those and sign off on the form as well. So you'll have a record of that. Okay. We talked a lot about completing the forms there, going through the full contactless experience. And again, we'll walk through this. I'll show you a demo of what exactly that would look like. But here's a few screenshots for you. Completing the health waiver form, of course, would be the first step after they've booked their appointment. Hopefully online. They can also, of course, call in. still going to be completely contactless, of course, in that case. They can complete their form though. Then once they actually arrive, then they would be able to complete a mobile check-in. What we can do is set it up so that if you wanted your guests to be able to complete the check-in themselves, then you can email them a link either the morning of their appointment or a certain period of time prior to their appointment. Once they've checked themselves in, you can show a message. You can decide what you'd like that to say, but you can show a message instructing them, what to do next based on your procedures. And from there, you can also check them out, or you can allow them, to check themselves out online. You can enable it so that they immediately get that checkout option as soon as they've checked in, or that's sent, after they've completed the appointment or the service, I should say. From there, within the guest checkout, again, it's an emailed link that's sent directly to them. They can click on that link, which will open up an online payment option. It will have all of the service details of what was booked for their appointment that day. The automatic gratuity can either be added, or the guest can add their own gratuity depending on how you have that set up. And they can either use their card on file if they've guaranteed the appointment online. Of course, when booking online, you can allow your guests to guarantee the appointment with a credit card, or you can even take a deposit if you wanted to online too. But with that, when they're checking out, the guests would be able to either use their card on file or you just enter a new credit card if they wanted to. Okay, I'm just going to switch over now. We're going to get right into the online booking side of things first. So what you can see now is the online booking. This is actually the mobile version. I wanted to show you from a touch device, so I've made it a little bit smaller here on my computer. This is what it would look like, the online booking, keeping in mind it's fully customizable. So you can change the colors, the buttons, the fonts, the images that are showing here. We have some promotions that are also showing up. You can decide which images you wanted to have and any sort of details you wanted to have there. From here, the guests can select services. They can also at any time use the menu in the top left-hand corner to navigate, throughout the screen. Okay. From there, if you have multiple locations or even just at your property, you have a spa and a salon, for example, then you can add a location selection there, or you can just prompt right to this screen. Okay. Here you have your service groups. This is where you can customize what you wanted to show, the wording, and what groups you had for your location set up. And the images can be changed, of course, too. All of this is fully customizable in terms of the site CSS, the overall look and feel. From here, I'm just going to select massage. We have different types of massage, and then you can decide on the different descriptions and the upgrades. So you can opt for upgrades, any add-ons, so anything that's going to increase the ticket value but not actually adding extra appointment time. You can also add remarks or warnings up here as well. From there, I can just go ahead and book now. Everything will be added to my appointment cart, so I can continue adding more treatments to the booking, or I can just go ahead and click next. From here, preference can be selected. So if it's a male or female request, or if it's a therapist or technician request, you can allow that. And from here, the guest can select availability. So let's say I wanted to do next Tuesday, and I'll come in maybe in the afternoon. Clicking continue will give you the first few available times, on that date and during that period that you had selected. From here, you can allow your guests to sign in and actually have a sign-in. With that, they'd actually be able to see some of their balances online through their online profile, which is quite nice. Or they can just book as a guest as well. I'll just sign in, because I do have a profile. But here, this is just showing me the appointment details, the total. The guests can add their own notes. You can change the labels here. They can add a promotional code as well. If you marketing perspective, And then email and phone number are pulling up because I've already entered that, when creating my profile, but the guest would be prompted just to enter this information if they were signing in as a guest, along with their first name and last name. They can choose whether they'd like to receive reminders via email or text message, and then just accept the terms and conditions here. Of course, you can customize everything that's listed within the terms specific to your business. Okay, the appointment is confirmed. I can add it to my calendar. There's also a little disclaimer that shows up here. And of course, you'll be able to customize your email templates with any information in there as well. Yeah, if you're using the confirmations. From here, I'm actually going to pull up a confirmation that I already had set. So just showing appointment details, and down here, oops, sorry, it's grayed out because I've already clicked on it. But you can click on the complete form link, which will open up the health form to be completed. Okay. This is, like we talked about before, the online health form, the guest intake form, completely contactless. Again, the guest is still using their own device. In this case, I have already completed a form in the past, so you can see that my responses are pulling directly from the system. This can all be synced up if you're using Book4Time directly to Book4Time so that their profile is populated as well. I'm just confirming in this case that the information is still correct, or I could change it if I wanted to as well. From here, I click continue and it goes right into that form. Again, it's sending me the form that the spa has set up based on the treatment that I'm having. Okay. From here, I'm just going to click start and just go through the questions. Keep in mind, every single question is fully customizable for you. You can change the wording, you can change the order, you can also change the response types as well. There's a little warning at the beginning there. Have you or anyone in your family been in contact with a person that has tested positive for COVID? No. It's also a smart form, so based on certain responses, you can guide towards other questions or skip over other questions as well. Have you or anyone in your family been in contact with a person that is in the process of being tested? No. Traveled to an area with active transmission over the last 2 weeks? In the past 24 hours of fever? No. It just gives a warning if your responses change between now and your appointment. Please contact us so that they might need to reschedule the appointment, of course. Will you be receiving a massage or a body treatment? Again, this is how we've configured this form. I think it's just one standard form that we've set with the new COVID regulations, but you can change, if you wanted this to be specific to massage or body, you can have 2 separate forms. I'm just going to say yes. And then there's certain questions. In this case, it's a multiple selection type option. So I can say, whatever I'd like, and then just click OK. You'll notice at the bottom here, it shows percentage of completion. Are you under physician's care? No. And then none. Any medications? Allergic to essential oils or products? Consumed alcohol? No. And are you expecting? Nope. Sorry, this one's quite long, especially with all the added questions. But again, you can set whatever you'd like in terms of the length and the questions. Any areas to avoid? Yes, and then it'll ask you, I don't want anybody touching my feet. Is there anything else that they need to know? No. Just a relaxing massage. Okay, and then there's another question. This has been added actually because sometimes there's a concern in terms of wanting to have the guest actually consent to draping, or the fact that they recognize that they'll be touched by the therapist, which can be added as well. And then once the form is submitted, the guest can actually physically sign, I should say physically, but contactless. They're signing with their touch screen on their own phone or with their mouse on their computer. Again, if the guest hasn't completed this form, that you can hand them a tablet when they arrive to complete it. You may want to completely eliminate that. which is possible as well. You can just ask the guest to, have it resent to their phone. You can resend it on the spot, and then maybe even have a backup tablet just in case, or even just a paper form just in case if there's certain guests that are completely, not capable of using that technology for any different reason. But of course, a tablet's going to be a lot easier too in terms of sanitizing and making sure that it's just wiped off that way. Now that the form is completed, I'm going to take you into over here, the self-check-in process and what that looks like. So we've built it into kind of a mock-up here just because it's easier rather than to show you on the phone. But here you have just an example of within the confirmation and the self-check-in option down here. You can put whatever wording, like I said, the guest can click on that in order to actually check in. It has their appointment details in here. Pretty straightforward. They can just click on check in now. And again, you can change, this is a special message that we're showing. You can change what you'd like this to say for your spa when the guest checks in. Okay. In this case, I also have it turned on so they can check out, and they can do that, right away here. If I click on provide payment, then it has all of the details if I wanted to charge it to my room, or use the card on file that I use to guarantee the appointment, or I can pay at the front desk is an option that we have there too, just in case. There's all sorts of options that you can kind of turn on or off for this too. But here the guest is adding a gratuity and then completing the check-in or the checkout, sorry. So they, yeah, sorry, they, that it was, the payment was processed and the guest is still checked in. It just reminds them of, what they're supposed to do or where they're supposed to go, again, based on what your standard operating procedures are or have changed to be, I should say too. Okay, that's the touchless experience from the guest side of things. What we can do now is I'll log into the back end of Book4Time for just a couple minutes here if you wanted to see what the staff-facing side of that would be. From here, you can see that this is, again, this is what the staff would see. And I should have pointed it on the last screen, but there is the language selection there for the staff facing, and there's also a language selection available for guest facing. So if you wanted to support, English, Spanish, French, any other languages, there's up to I think it's 12 or 14 different languages that are there. On the back end of the system, I can show you a quick booking maybe of what it would look like for a staff member to book, and then we can probably open it up for questions. Of course, if you want to see a true demo of the back end of Book4Time, then definitely contact us and we can set you up there. As a general overview, you've got the date in the top right-hand corner, and you can navigate between days using the arrow. Over here, but then also using the calendar option in the top left. You can switch easily between locations. We really focus on multi-location management and helping you be able to switch between your business centers quite easily. If you had a call center, for example, or you're just from a management perspective managing different locations, that can also be used for activity, cabanas, other revenue centers as well. You can also see a breakdown of treatments, what treatments you have available. Again, the staff-facing side. I'll note for the online booking, you can have the descriptions being the same as what the guest would see, or just having them a bit different for staff versus guest. And then you can also break out to view by therapist or by room if you wanted to see this schedule by room instead. And you can view individual therapists, and break it down to filter out that way. Booking, there's a few different options. The easiest is usually just by clicking on the calendar wherever you wanted to book. And from here, it'll pop out with the treatment options. So I can select, for example, the firm and tone treatment. And I can select if there's a male request, because this is a male therapist, or a female request if it was a female, also therapist request for Alex. And then the pricing, the time, the room will all pre-populate based on this treatment that the details that you set up for that treatment and the priorities that you set up for the facility. Add-ons are also here, prompting your staff to increase that ticket. And from there, you can click Save, and you can continue adding more bookings, or you can just click Continue, and then you'll be prompted for any missing information. In this case, I still have to add the guest name. I could have also added it before I booked the treatment. Just showing me I have another treatment at that time. That's okay, just for today. Here is where, I have it turned off right now, but this is where the staff would be prompted to enter the credit card guarantee. They can add notes, they can enter email or change the email, but this is automatically pulling from my customer profile here. And then based on these checkboxes, it would automatically send an email or text message or a text message confirmation as soon as I click the confirm button. I'm just gonna uncheck that for now. Okay, and then lastly, just looking at the profile, because you can see some of those options here as well in terms of the details that you can track for the guests, different, requests or preferences that can be customized. Preferred language is also here, so being able to filter for the guest based on what how they'd like to receive the confirmation emails and/or online booking default. And notifications is there as well. Notes, history, I won't click on everything, but appointments, packages and series tracking, gift card balances, referrals, membership. And then lastly, I'm going to click on the guest intake forms so that you can actually see completed intake forms from here, all of the information that was completed. So we're kind of taking it full circle here. This is what the therapist can see. There's actually a separate section. This is more for historical forms, looking at historical forms. The therapist probably most likely launched from the app through guest intake, but just a sample of what that would look like to them. Again, the therapist can also add notes and sign off on the form as well. Okay. I don't want to go over on timing too much. I want to leave some time for questions. So I don't know if we wanted to open it up to any questions.
Hi, Erica. Thank you so much. That was a really great overview, very in-depth, and showed us the versatility of the system. One question for you. In terms of the setup for spas, how complex is it and what kind of support is there? So if a spa is not using Book4Time already and they were thinking of bringing Book4Time in, how can they go about that initial setup?
For sure, yeah. We suggest about 4 to 6 weeks, ideally. During that time, there are about 5 or 6 different training sessions that we'll take you through. The first few are very consultative. This is more administrative type training. So it's not truly training staff how to book or anything like that yet. It'll focus on system settings, making decisions of what you want turned on and off and how you want things configured. We will set up the account for you based on an initial survey that we'll have you fill out. So things like operation hours, tender types, taxes, that kind of stuff we'll set up for you in the beginning before we even have the first training. And then we'll review all of that with you during the first session, go over treatment setup, how to set up treatments. And between that session and the next session, usually there's about a week. It can be a bit shorter depending on, if spas are completely closed, especially right now. We can kind of try and push it up a little bit. But there are certain things we'd have the team completing in that between those 2 sessions. So adding services, we can import a list of services and retail products and gift card balances as well. Memberships, customers can even be imported. We'll give you an Excel template that can be used to import those. But some of the things like setting staff schedules, adding your therapist and what treatments they can do, setting the system settings and adding security rights, that will be a part of kind of the experience for the spa team in terms of what they would be in charge of setting up on their end. We will do an interface installation at some point, probably closer to the go live at the end of those, that 4 weeks, right before. Once the full system is set up, right before the go live, within a week or so usually, or 2, depending on how much time we have. But we'll do an interface installation and testing just to make sure we can post if there's a room posting that's required, and or just with credit cards, making sure that those are processed. You can set up a standalone system with credit card and just have a separate terminal too. In that case, there wouldn't be any installation required. That's the beauty of having a web-based system. There's nobody that needs to come on property. Once, if you guys were going to sign up and sign off on a contract, then we could get started, within a week or so. We just have to assign a resource. And yeah, as we move through those trainings, of course, closer to the end, right before we go live, we'll actually do user training with your staff, showing them how to book, process transactions, doing all those day-to-day type things. So it can be done in 4 to 6 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks is also helpful, if you have a little bit of extra time, just so that you can, focus, depending on the size of the business. If it's really big, then you may want a bit of extra time. But yeah, that should give you a general idea.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for answering that. I believe we don't have any further questions on Facebook. Okay, we have another question just come in here on Zoom. Another question, a little bit more information. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about Book4Time, you can contact Erica directly at emartin@book4time.com and visit the website for Book4Time. We can link also on the Facebook video to the Facebook page for Book4Time, which we'll do afterwards. We're going to come off from Facebook live transmission now, and then we'll have a chance to have a bit more of an informal chat here on Zoom. So thanks for everyone tuning in on Facebook. We'll be back next week, actually at 11 a.m. on Thursday for another webinar. So check back in with us then, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.